He's Al Michaels, the voice of Sunday Night Football, and now a host on NBC as they bring back primetime boxing to NBC. And Al joins us now. Al, you're not close to retirement, right?
Let's put it this way. I'm working with Marv Albert this week, and I'm really looking forward to that. I've known Marv for a long time. Marv has always lied about his age. We know that, but he'll always be 3 years older. He'll always be 3 years older than I am. No, I am not thinking about retirement, even though I've been getting some Leisure World brochures, looking at a few other things, checking out the IRA. But
what would you do? What would you do?
You'll retire before I will. What would I do?
Yeah,
probably the same stuff I do right now. Day trade a little bit, play golf, go out to dinner. Wait for you to call me when you come to Los Angeles, but you'd rather talk to Rich Eisen.
You're right.
So, apart from that.
Okay, we took a bet on what you had for dinner last night. It was steak or the field.
You got it.
And we all took steak.
Steak and what? What'd you say?
The field. It was either every other dinner combination, and it was steak or the field, and we all took steak.
Well, I had a very juicy steak at the Jean Georges restaurant in Las Vegas, where we're preparing for the fight, and then I played the field at the crap table. So you're probably right on both counts.
Best boxing match you ever attended or called?
Hagler Hearns, without question. 30 years ago. I think the date was April the 15th, so the actual 30th anniversary is coming up pretty soon. Caesars Palace parking lot. I think Ring Magazine ranked it as the greatest round of the 20th century, the first round where the two guys came out. And, most boxing matches start with the guys parrying, the feeling out process in the first round. These two guys, when the bell rang, just came to the center of the ring and tried to kill each other. It was 3 minutes of craziness. I mean, I had to catch my breath. I did it with Al Bernstein all those years ago on closed circuit, and it lasted until the 2-minute mark of the third round when they had to stop the fight because Hagler was bleeding like crazy, but he had TKO'd Hearns at that point, so he won the fight. Sports Illustrated's headline was 8 minutes of fury, which was absolutely perfect. And it was breathtaking. And, one of the reasons we love sports so much, Dan, is the Super Bowl was fantastic. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes. The World Series can go for a week and a half. The Stanley Cup playoffs go for a week and a half. And then you get an 8-minute bite, and it was fantastic. It was just unbelievable. So without question, that's number one on my list.
What was the story behind Hearns? Because nobody thought that he would do that to Hagler unless he was trying to catch him by surprise. But I had heard that he had an upset stomach, that he knew he couldn't last, he couldn't go a long fight, and he was trying to end it early. Was there any backstory to that?
Not that I was aware at the time. Now, there's a lot of revisionist history that probably goes around after a fight like that. But these two guys, they both had the same strategy. Let's go to it, and let's end this early, and we're going to knock the other guy out. So it was one of those fights where there was no strategy. It was just mano a mano. It was sport in its purest form, just two guys in a pair of trunks in the ring. It was electric. It was electric before the fight because that fight had a tremendous amount of hype. And then it not only lived up to the hype, it well exceeded it. So I have no idea to this day. It's so funny. We hear stories through the years. This guy felt like this. This guy felt like crap in the dressing room. Whatever. I don't know what the deal was. All I know, I've never seen anything like that one.
Boxing returns to primetime on NBC tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern. Al will host. Marv Albert and Sugar Ray Leonard will call the action. Layla Ali will be corner analyst. Boxing on NBC primetime for the first time in 30 years. Remember the first time you met Muhammad Ali?
No, because believe it or not, I've never met him. So
really,
yes, all the crazy things. I shouldn't say that. I actually did a Muhammad Ali exhibition after I had gotten to ABC in 1976, and he was fighting in an exhibition in Miami. And the crazy thing was, my partner was George Foreman. And Ali, there was some question as to whether or not he'd even show up for this thing. And he did, and I think he boxed 2 rounds. but I never got to meet him because it was one of those crazy things where they had some programming for Wide World of Sports. Would he show up? Wouldn't he show up?
Oh,
and he did show up, but we didn't even know if he was going to show up until he showed up. So here he is in the ring, and I'm calling an exhibition with him, but I never got to meet him.
Who do you think was helped out more with that relationship, Howard Cosell or Muhammad Ali? That they're very playful with one another. Cosell was certainly a backer of Ali, even with what happened when he didn't want to go to Vietnam. But did Ali help Cosell, or did Cosell help Ali?
Both. I mean, it was a yin and yang deal. It was compelling television at that point. I mean, Howard made Muhammad Ali understood by sports fans because people who really didn't know him got to know him inside out because Cosell would ask the right questions, the questions you wanted to have asked. And then for Ali, it was going back and forth with Cosell. It helped Howard, too. There's no question about that. Because at that particular point, Howard was so different, and Ali was so great. And the two of them, I mean, they had a Vegas act going back and forth, and it was pretty natural. But look, they both understood what they were doing. When Muhammad Ali would come into the ABC Sports Studios in those years, I mean, he wasn't there to be a Marshawn Lynch. I mean, he knew what he was going to be, unless, of course, it was in Turkey, where that's Marshawn. You can find out what Marshawn thinks when you go to Istanbul or Ankara. But in those years, I mean, it was a show, and they could make a 30-minute segment out of Wide World of Sports with no action, but just Ali sitting in the studio. So it was great for both of them.
Do you buy into any of what Marshawn Lynch said, the conspiracy theory that the Seahawks or the NFL didn't want him to be the MVP, the face of the Super Bowl? That's why they went to the pass? Not
1%. Okay. Of course not. I mean, Dan, what are we talking about here? They don't want him to win the Super Bowl because they don't want him to be the MVP?
Yeah. I mean, well, they gave him the ball at the 5, but they didn't want to give it to him at the 1. So that's why he says they didn't want him to be MVP.
One of the reasons they don't give it to him at the 1 is you feel like saying, maybe we'll ask the Turkish commentator to ask Marshawn the next time he shows up. Hey, Marshawn, you carried the ball 5 times from the 1-yard line this year. You didn't score on 4 of those occasions. So how do you explain that? So, I mean, look, you and I both know how crazy it was at the end of that game. I think it's a case of sometimes, coaches might do too much thinking. And I know, we've heard Pete Carroll talk about what he was thinking at that particular point. He knew he had to have a pass in that sequence if they went all 4 downs, whatever. But there's not a chance in $48 million that they don't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch because they don't want him to be the MVP. No way.
But you're calling the game. How surprised were you when you saw Wilson take the snap and realized they were going to throw the ball?
I was more surprised by what the play was. I wasn't that surprised at a pass, but I was surprised that it wasn't Wilson rolling out or Wilson throwing a fade to the corner of the end zone where, the result is either a touchdown or an incomplete pass that stops the clock. So it was the actual play call itself to have Wilson in the pocket and then throwing a slant to your number 3 wide receiver. That, to me, the actual play itself was more surprising than pass or run. Because, crazily enough, and you've seen some of the numbers, the teams actually scored a slightly higher percentage of the time passing the ball from the 1-yard line than running it. So I can understand, the play call to a certain degree, but the actual play itself was shocking.
People always say, because I said, look, if it was a great call, then they would have scored.
Sure.
I can't say, yep, great call, but they didn't score. The Patriots saw the alignment, and I give credit to Belichick that they practiced against that. And actually, Butler let the wide receiver score in practice, and he said, you must jump that route if you see it. I think it's just preparation that, they tried to get him by surprise. It was goal line defense that they had. They looked at the 3 wide, and they go, uh-oh. It could have been a great call, but it was a great play by the Patriots.
Well, that's one component of it, and clearly the Patriots are as prepared as any team. That's what Belichick is known for. No stone unturned when it comes to practice and all of the rest. But, Dan, there's so many components to that play. When I looked at that again and again, you've got Kearse lined up inside Lockett, and you've got Browner, your 6'4" corner, and he's going to take care of Curse, and he does. He doesn't let Curse get off the line. And then, so when they're running, basically that pick rub play is what they're really doing when they get Lockett to the goal line. Now, what Butler has, he's got a clear shot to Lockett, to the receiver. He can get there. And if Curse is able to back Browner off even a little bit, then Butler has to kind of circle around to get there. But he didn't have to because, I think Browner's the unsung hero of that play by keeping Curse at the line and letting Butler get there to make the pick.
Great talk to you. Have fun with Marv, Sugar Ray, and Layla Ali. That'll be at 8:30 Eastern tomorrow night. Boxing returns to primetime on NBC. Thank you, Al.
I'll leave you with this. I want the Danettes to come up with something. We have John the Gladiator Molina tomorrow night. We have Adrian the Problem Broner, Robert the Ghost Guerrero, and Keith One-Time Thurman. Everybody needs a nickname. You need one.
Oh, no. Do you have one?
For you?
No.
Yeah, Dan who never calls.
Oh.
No, for you. Dan who never calls when he comes to Los Angeles, Patrick. That's your nickname.
It's catchy. I like it.
Do I have a nickname? Alfalfa. That's from Bob Uecker. And Albino from Dennis Miller.
Albino.
Albino. You're the best.
Thank you, bud.
Take care, buddy.
Is Al Michaels. Al Michaels. I'm going to guess he'll go steak again tonight.